Good morning. I've had a couple people ask me for some clarification on the final project. So let's go over that real quick, okay? All right, I'll just take a second. And I do have my 5-year-old right next to me who's being pretty fussy. So just bear with me here. Okay, so flip final project, okay? So you are going to need to have read, obviously, chapters 1 through 14. You are going to need a copy of the PDF file, which I have uploaded for you. Same place it's been all year or all quarter. And then you are also going to need the internet, which you obviously already have if you're watching this, okay? So you're going to actually use the internet to locate 6 different articles or books that characters in Flipped might be interested in. Now, you're not just going to be randomly choosing books. You have to be able to support that based on what you learn about those characters in the novel. All right, I'm going to show you an example of that here in a second. So after you found the articles and books, you need to explain why the character would find them interesting and how they actually relate to the book. I'm going to have you go through these directions on your own because that's pretty self-explanatory, okay? This you can use, you don't have to use. I used Google, I didn't use this, but that's just an option in there for you. Okay, so let's go to the example of how it's done. You're going to have 6 of these boxes, okay? Yours is going to be blank. This is the honey, I need you to go sit down over there. You're kind of making it impossible for me to do this right now. I apologize about that. So again, down here, you have one that I already wrote in Bryce Lowski for. One, number 2, I have Juliana Baker in there because I did, if you look at the directions up here, I said that you did have to use them at least once. So that's why I have them in there for you already, all right? The other 4 characters are up to you. All right, so I'm not going to tell you which characters to use. And I guess here's the thing. If you don't know what characters to use, then you probably didn't read. There are many, many, many characters to choose from. I'm choosing Mrs. Baker for mine. Okay, so Mrs. Baker is Juliana's mom. So right where it says character, I inserted the name Mrs. Baker. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so then I need to ask myself, what do I know about Mrs. Baker? Yes, lemon squeezy. And one of the things that I remembered most from Mrs. Baker was the whole issue with Champ the dog. Okay, if you guys remember, they found this dog who looked like he was a little malnourished. He looked like he obviously needed a home, so they took him in. She was super, super hesitant. And again, this all happened in chapter 6. So what I thought was really funny, well, not really funny because I'd be pretty ticked off if this happened in my house, was that the dog was actually peeing on everything. And if you guys remember, Juliana was trying to cover for the dog so that, you know, Mrs. Baker didn't get rid of the dog. So anyways, you have to actually take some time to think about what you know about the characters first. You can't just, you know, think that you're going to be able to read an assignment and be like, okay, I get it. No, you actually have to do some thinking in here. Okay, so because I know that they were having some issues with the dog peeing in the house, I decided to try to find an article on the internet machine that talked about why dogs might actually be peeing in the house. So I actually found this one right here. I'm going to go to it. All right. So this actually talks about potty training your dog, but it also, this particular article, I chose this one because it talks about like the different type of peeing. Like some dogs pee because they're excited, maybe they're not ready for potty training. And then of course, down here, they're talking about some different issues, which is where Champ kind of comes in, okay? There's a lot of stuff going on with Champ that would actually explain why he was peeing in the house. So, found this article. I'm going to kind of scroll up a little bit here so you guys can see. All I did was highlight this. I copied it. And then I went over here and I pasted it right here, okay? So you definitely want to have the link here so that I can go back to the article and see, okay, does this article actually talk about what you were referring to? Where it says the title is 7 reasons that your dog is peeing in the house, okay? So I took that title and I inserted it right here with quotation marks around it, all right? Okay. So then down here, I need to explain why Mrs. Baker would actually benefit from reading this, because in my mind, we actually take in rescue dogs. So my whole life, we never had a puppy. Willem, I need you to stop doing that, okay? Thank you. Sorry. So we actually had a dog named Mickey who was clearly abused. Um, and one of the things that he also did was, he would pee in the house. So I kind of knew that in the back of my head, and I realized why he was doing it right away. Mrs. Baker obviously didn't. So here I talk about that. In chapter 6, the reader learns that the baker's dog Champ was peeing in the house, and it upset Mrs. Baker, understandably. If she had read this article, okay, it might have helped her understand why Champ was peeing in the house and figure out, maybe ways to try to get him to stop, but also maybe just be a little bit more compassionate for what he probably went through before becoming a member of the household. And then, of course, I find my textual evidence in there from chapter 6, and I wrote, in the novel, it says, Mom was fuming. I told you it was him. The mystery smell comes from the mystery pisser. Okay, so that actually was a quote from Mom, because this is at that point where she realizes that terrible smell that they kept smelling was actually coming from the dog. Okay, so this is just one example. All right, I'm not going to do any other examples because what will happen is kids will just copy off of me, and that's not what I want. And no one is allowed to use this example. Okay, you are not allowed to use the Champ peeing example anymore. Okay, so just to kind of recap. All right, all you have to do is choose a character. All right, you know a lot about those characters. If you read the novel, you know a lot about the characters. Guys, I made this project to where if you're having trouble with this, it's because you didn't read or read thoroughly. These projects are not challenging by any means if you've read it. So I would just say that if you're struggling with this, you need to go back and reread. Go back and figure out what you know about the characters first. Maybe take out a piece of paper and do some brainstorming. Ask yourself, what are some important details that we know about the characters? All right, start there and then kind of work from there. Again, all I did was think about a situation, what I know about them, and then I try to find a book. The example I used in the intro video was that if you are buying a gift for somebody, and let's just say they want a book, you're not going to buy them a book that you would enjoy necessarily, because it's not about you. It's about the other person, right? So kind of pretend like you are almost buying a gift for these characters, a gift of an article, a gift of a book of some sort, and really think about what their personality traits are and the things that they are into. Or, like in my situation right here, I'm sure she's not really into reading articles about dogs peeing in houses, but this would have made her understand Champ, and probably what happened to him before he arrived at their house, which was clearly some abuse based on how he was behaving at the time. So again, thank goodness that Bakers took him in and gave him a loving home, and tried to help him with his issues. So again, when you buy someone a gift, and I'm just using that as an example, a gift. If you're buying, someone a gift, you're not going to be just randomly choosing something. You're going to have some type of reason behind that. And that's all this really comes down to. Here's the big kicker. If you can't explain why that character would like that book, with a legit example from the text, then don't use that character. That's why I'm giving you, I am telling you that you have to use Bryce and Julie at least once, because obviously we know the most about them, but I'm not telling you that you have to use Mr. Losky. But let me tell you, he's an easy one, I think, to use, because we learn a whole lot about Mr. Losky and some of the issues that he brings to the table. Think about what the Loskys are going through. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, without giving any answers away. Could Mrs. Losky benefit from a certain book that might help her through her situation? Maybe even the Bakers. They're obviously going through a really tough time, dealing with their situations, their financial situations. So just kind of start thinking outside the box. What kind of benefit could these characters have from reading? All right. So just to kind of recap, you just put the character here, copy and paste the link. If it's a novel, just kind of go on Amazon. If there's a particular novel that you're like, oh yeah, they would love this novel because of this reason, go on Amazon and find the link to it, and then just kind of copy and paste that here. You're not actually buying it, just that's just an example of how you can find the link to something. Mine, again, was just an article just because me personally, I found it easier. I hadn't read any books about dogs being in the house and being abused. So I actually had to go out and look to see what articles were out there about that. And then, of course, I made that connection. So you guys all know how to use textual evidence. You guys all know how to support your ideas. Here I'm giving you the flexibility right here. This is where the flexibility comes in, okay? This is what we've learned in class. This is what we've learned in class. And here you're just kind of flexible on what it is that you are going to be using to support why he or she would benefit from that particular article or book that you are choosing. Okay. All right. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. I kind of feel like all I did was repeat what I had already said, but sometimes just saying it in another way helps. There are 6 of them, so make sure that you guys are scrolling down and you're doing all 6 of them. Again, if you're feeling lost, you need to go back and reread. I've already had a ton of these turned in. And I looked at the time that it's been taking people to do. On average, this has been taking people about 20 minutes to do, and they've been doing pretty well with it so far. If you have any questions, nobody came. I only had one person come in this week so far for any help for my open call. We do have one more open call, but feel free to email me and I will answer any questions. Okay? All right. Take care, guys.